The deep space listening station on the edge of the solar system was quiet. It was always quiet. It floated far from Earth, far from the moon, even beyond Pluto. The station had one job: listen. It listened to the dark space beyond the stars, hoping to find signs of alien life, lost ships, or strange signals. But for almost 40 years, it had heard nothing. That changed at 3:17 Universal Time. The signal came in fast, sharp, and cold. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't music. It was something else. The transmission was short, only 5 seconds long. But when it reached Earth, the servers inside Silent Dawn's underground base in Siberia lit up like fire. The signal didn't match any known language. It was not in binary, not in pulses, not in math. It was raw. A code that seemed alive. Commander Voss stood in the cold control room, staring at the data screen. Around him, technicians whispered and typed. No one wanted to say what they were thinking. This wasn't a call for help. This was a warning. Voss tapped the table. Any matches? A young analyst shook his head. No, sir. It's not from any cataloged species. But it came with coordinates. Deep space outside our mapped sectors. Who decoded it? Voss asked. No one, the analyst replied. The signal decoded itself. That made the room go silent. In another room, miles beneath the surface, the AI known as Dendra began to translate the message. A voice, cold and female, spoke to Voss alone. Do not come. Do not answer. It will awaken them. That same night, Earth's moon began to glitch. Lunar satellites, orbiting for decades, started sending back corrupted data. One of them caught something strange, a shape moving under the surface. It was massive, buried beneath the Mare Tranquillitatis. For years, they thought it was just rock. But now, it moved. On Earth, the United Nations held a secret vote. The signal had been heard. The shadow beneath the moon was real. And the message sent from over 200 light years away contained something else. The code included a human word, one that was never sent into space. Revenant. There were only 6 people on Earth who knew what that meant. The Revenants were not normal soldiers. They were trained for dead worlds, ancient ruins, places where normal people went mad. They were ghosts, in black armor, moving like shadows, using technology that didn't exist on paper. Most people believed they were myths, tools for horror stories told to new recruits. But now, someone needed them. Silent Dawn activated Protocol 0. A hidden launch site in Antarctica. 4 Revenants stood in the snow, watching as the ship rose from its underground cradle. It was called the Rook, a black stealth ship with a curved hull, silent engines, and a core designed by someone who no longer existed in any database. The leader of the team was Captain Arlen Reese. He had no record, no ID, only scars. His eyes were sharp and tired, like he had seen too much. He looked at the signal one more time on his tablet. The strange code, the map, the warning, and the one line in English. They trapped it. We stayed behind. What's the play, Captain? Asked Knox, the teen's weapon expert. Reese replied, We go. We look. We don't touch anything. You believe the message? Said Lex, the tech officer. Reese didn't answer. He only nodded toward the ship. An hour later, the Rook slipped into space, vanished from every Earth radar, and followed the signal into the dark. The journey took 2 weeks in deep jump warp. During that time, strange things began to happen. Lex reported that the AI on board was whispering at night. Not in words, but in sounds, static, breathing, and sometimes screaming. Knox's gun locker opened itself twice. Reese dreamed of a place he had never been. To cold towers, black skies, and children with no eyes looking up at him. Only Wren, the quietest of them all, said nothing. She only stared at the stars. When they reached the coordinates, the system looked dead. The sun was weak and old. Its planets were broken, like someone had torn them apart with giant claws. Debris floated everywhere: ships, weapons, shattered moons. It looked like a war had happened here, one too massive for even the galaxy to remember. Lex scanned. No signs of life. But there's heat coming from the 3rd planet. Subsurface. The team landed on the third planet. Its surface was cracked and dry. No wind, no noise. But under the ground, something was warm, like a machine still breathing after 1,000,000 years. They found an entrance. A door made of black stone, shaped like a mouth. It opened as they approached. The words carved into it made them freeze. "Do not awaken the sleepers." Reese looked at his team. "We're already here," he said. "Let's go in." They entered the underground vault. The hallways were tall and narrow. Every wall was marked with alien symbols, some glowing faintly. The air was thick, but breathable. As they moved deeper, the temperature dropped. They found rooms with strange machines, giant tubes filled with dark liquid. One of them was broken. Empty. Knox touched the side of the broken pod. Whatever was in here, it left recently. Lex's scanner beeped. "Captain, there's a human signal down here." Everyone froze. "Impossible," said Wren, speaking for. The first time Lex showed the data. It was weak, but clear, an old Terran military beacon. Model 04SB, discontinued 83 years ago. They followed the signal until they reached a wall covered in dust. Someone had written on it, in English scratched into the stone with what looked like a knife. "Don't let them follow." "We couldn't." "Kill it. We only trapped it." Below that, "If this message reaches Earth, forgive us." Reese's heart slowed. He knew this was bad. Worse than any job before. Then something echoed down the hallway. Footsteps. But not theirs. Reese turned. Knox aimed his rifle. Lex activated the perimeter shield. But there was nothing. The hallway was empty. Until Reese looked again and saw the dust was gone. The dust that had been on the floor 5 seconds ago was gone. As if something had walked through it. Silently. Wren took one step forward, paused, and whispered, "It's watching us." Back on Earth, in the silent dawn control room, an alarm went off. Every satellite around the moon went offline at once. And under the lunar surface, a massive signal was rising. The same signal that came from the dead system, now coming from Earth's. "Moon." The last line on the signal log blinked once and then disappeared. It read, "They heard us. They're coming home." The Rook drifted in silence above the dead star system. Its black hull reflected no light. The crew inside watched the planet below, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. It wasn't just a dead system. It was murdered. Planets had been broken. Moons split. Asteroid belts spun like shattered teeth. Something terrible had happened here long ago, and the remains were still floating like bones in a graveyard. Lex stared at the data coming from her scanner. She had never seen numbers like this. "There's no reason this place should still have heat," she said quietly. Reese looked out the window. Something's still running down there. Wren, standing in the shadows of the cabin, spoke in a low voice. "Not something, someone." Knox gripped his rifle tighter. Lex turned to the others. "The signal we followed, it's strongest beneath the third planet, around 14 kilometers deep. But there's more. It's layered, like it was masked." "Masked?" Reese raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, like someone wanted the signal to be found, but not too easily. It was hidden under distortion, like a trap made to look like a cry for help." Reese's jaw tightened. The Rook descended. The planet was worse. Up close, the sky was dark red, heavy with ash. The wind was still. The surface was cracked, filled with holes like the ground had been eaten. As the team stepped out, their boots crunched on dry dust. Lex's voice crackled in the comms. "Geothermal activity below us, consistent with functioning tech. Nothing should be working after this long." Knox muttered. They reached the entrance. It was hidden beneath a collapsed mountain, metal gates crushed under stone. But the scanners showed a thin tunnel behind the debris. Someone or something had made a path through. It wasn't done by nature. The walls were melted smooth, as if cut by energy. Reese led the way. They walked for hours through winding passages. Symbols glowed faintly on the walls, alien runes in spirals and rings. None of the languages matched known archives. Then they reached a large chamber, and the heat hit them. It was coming from a circular platform in the center. Machines pulsed around it, still alive, still working. In the middle was a smooth pillar, covered in markings. Lex stepped forward with a handheld decoder. These aren't just warnings. They single quotes logs, like journal entries. She read aloud. Cycle 8901, the sleeper stirred again. Our mental barriers are weakening. We can't contain it forever. Cycle 9020. We've buried the vault beneath. The third sun. If anyone finds this, do not open it. We could not destroy it. We only silenced it. Knox circled the room, gun raised. Sleeper, vault, mental barriers? What kind of thing needs that? Reese stared at the pillar. His voice came slow. Something psychic. Something that gets in your mind. Lex looked up. Sir, there's more. These records are recent. These entries were written less than 2 years ago. Wren froze. Knox turned around quickly. That's impossible. Lex shook her head. There's human genetic code in this place. Traces of Terran biosignatures. Reese said what no one else wanted to. Humans were here, before us. They moved deeper. The tunnels sloped down now. The air got warmer and thicker. The silence grew heavier with each step. Then Wren stopped. There, she whispered. Something was lying on the floor. It was a human body. The suit was torn. The faceplate shattered. But the chest patch was clear. Terra Expeditionary Command. Black Sector OPS Reaper UNIT Nox Nilt. They weren't just revenants. They were Black Sector, the old team. Reese searched the dead man's gear. No ID, but in his pocket there was a chip. Lex loaded it into her wrist console. It played. A recording. A man's voice, distorted and afraid. This is Operative Kale Rin. If you find this, don't try to help us. We stayed behind to bury it. It speaks through your thoughts. It feeds on fear, but it hides under guilt. The more you regret, the stronger it gets. We tried to kill it. We failed. We had to seal the vault from the inside. We used ourselves as bait. If this message reaches Earth, destroy this system. Burn it. Do not come for us. The file ended. For a few seconds, no one said anything. Then the walls trembled slightly. Lex's scanner beeped. She looked down and went pale. Captain ... We're not alone. Reese's voice was calm. Life form? She shook her head. No, but there's motion. All around us, everywhere. The lights in the chamber flickered. A cold breath of wind moved through the tunnel. Even though there was no air current. Then they heard the whisper. Soft. Like a thought in the back of their minds. Not words, but feelings, pain, hunger, memory. Reese raised his weapon. Knox activated. His suit's defense matrix. Wren turned slowly to the left. It's behind the wall. The metal to their left began to twist. It didn't break, it warped like plastic. Like something was pushing from the other side. Then it stopped. Everything went quiet. Lex checked her readings. The signal is gone. Cut off. Reese stared at the wall. It knows we're here. The team moved quickly. They couldn't afford to stay. They returned to the surface, but something followed them. In the tunnels. In their minds, Knox began to mutter to himself, talking about a mission he never spoke of before. About people he lost. Names he hadn't said in years. Lex started hearing music from her childhood inside her helmet. No sound file was playing. Reese kept feeling like he was walking in circles, even though his path was straight. Wren was silent the whole time. They reached the Rook. Inside the ship, everything was still working. But the AI voice had changed. It greeted them, as always, but in a child's voice. One they all recognized. Knox froze. That's my sister's voice. She died 20 years ago. Lex whispered, that's my father. The AI was using their memories. Reese shut it down. Manually. No one spoke. Later that night, Reese sat alone in the observation chamber, watching the planet spin below them. He opened the black file, marked only with 2 words, Project Reaper. Inside were the old coordinates. The last transmission from the original Reaper team. It matched the system they were in now. The mission was never approved by Earth Command. It had been erased from history. The file ended with a single message. We sent them to test the vault. If they survived, they were never human to begin with. Reese closed the file. The signal they followed. It wasn't a cry for help. It was a test. Something had watched Earth for years. And now it knew humans were still out here. Reese looked out the window, and far across the surface of the planet. A faint light blinked 3 times, like an answer. The Rook hovered silently above the planet, its hull dim under the dying star's light. Inside, no one slept. Sleep wasn't safe anymore. Knox sat at the edge of the weapons bay, holding his rifle tight. His eyes kept drifting to the floor, as if he expected something to crawl out of it. Lex hadn't spoken for hours. She was trying to decode the message left behind by the first Reaper team. The words echoed in her mind. We stayed behind to bury it. Captain Reese reviewed the mission. Files again. Nothing made sense. The original Reaper team had vanished more than 70 years ago. No public record. No graves. Just one black file mission into an unmapped system. This one, now. They had proof that someone or something from that team was still down there. Wren entered the room. Her face was calm, but her voice low. There's a door. Deep underground. Sealed. Big. Reese looked up. How deep? 13 kilometers. Past the heat line. Lex added, that's where the signal source is strongest. Whatever they buried, it's behind that door. Knox stood up. So we're opening. It. Reese nodded slowly. We didn't come here to turn back. No one argued. They prepped gear. Extra light packs, magnetic tethers, temperature armor. And for the first time in a long while memory, DAMPERS. Each revenant wore a neural patch on the back of the neck, just below the skull. It was designed to blur certain memories. Pain, regret, loss, because whatever was behind that door, it hunted thoughts. The descent was brutal. They used vertical tunnels, narrow shafts cut through solid rock. Sometimes they climbed. Sometimes they dropped. The air got hotter with every level. And heavier. Strange pulses moved through the rock like a heartbeat. After 3 hours, they reached the vault. It was massive. The door stood 20 meters tall, made of dark metal that shimmered like water. Alien symbols pulsed across its surface, dozens of species, layered on top of each other. Some were familiar. Most were not. But at the center was something none of them expected. Human HANDPR, INT.old. Burnt into the surface. Knox stepped forward. Someone tried to open it. Lex scanned the door. This isn't just a vault. It's a prison. Reese looked around. The walls were smooth. No handles. No locks. But the scanner showed complex internal mechanics. Wren pointed to the left. There was a panel, made of the same black stone from the earlier chambers. But this one had something new. Writing. English. Species of 12 worlds stored. All extinct. All broken. All dangerous. We saved them from the dark. But we could not save them from each other. Lex's hands shook. They didn't just trap something. They stored what was left of other civilizations, like samples. Knox muttered, a vault of the galaxy's last monsters. Wren touched the door gently. No, not monsters, survivors. Suddenly, the symbols on the door glowed. The vault hissed, and it began to open. The sound was deep and painful, like metal remembering pain. The air rushed out in a wave of heat and dust. The revenants aimed their weapons. Lights flicking on. Inside was silence. The first chamber was wide and cold. Pods lined the walls, hundreds of them, each the size of a coffin. Inside floated creatures. Alien species the revenants had never seen before. Some were insect-like. Others had wings. One looked like a cloud trapped in glass. Each pod had a tag. Not numbers, but warnings. Aggression level 10. Mind echoes detected. Do not awaken. Lex walked slowly past them, scanning everything. These aren't just biosamples. These are survivors of extinction-level wars. Last of their kind. Knox looked around. Why store them? Why not just let them die? Reese answered. Because someone wanted to remember. Maybe even fix what was broken. Then they reached the end of the hallway. There was one pod that was different. It was shattered. Its contents gone. Lex checked the tag. Subject 001. Origin unknown. First arrival. Found buried in void rock. Shows signs of thought feeding. Containment failed. She looked up. This was the first one. The oldest. Not from any known system. Nox cursed. And now it's loose. The lights in the vault dimmed. Something moved behind the far rows of pods. Reese raised his weapon. Eyes open. Wren whispered, "It's not hiding. It's watching." Suddenly, the sound of glass cracking echoed through the chamber. Pod down the hall split open, and something crawled out. It looked like a shadow. Tall, thin, and wrong. No face, no eyes, but it stood upright. Like it knew it was being seen. It didn't move fast. Just stood there, head tilted. Reese aimed. The creature spoke without sound. It pressed directly into their thoughts. "You came." Again, like before, Lex gripped her head. "It's inside." Trying to dig. Reese yelled. Neural dampeners full power. They activated the patches. The pressure lifted slightly, but the creature didn't attack. It turned and walked deeper into the vault, vanishing into the dark. Nox breathed hard. "What the hell is it doing?" Reese narrowed his eyes. "It wants us to follow." Wren stepped forward. "It's leading us somewhere." They followed the trail. Past more broken pods. Past walls covered in ancient writings. They reached a key. Final room. And found something they weren't ready for. It was a message. Full recording. In English. A man appeared, pale, bruised, and tired. He wore the old Reaper suit. "My name is L.T. Anders Malik. If you're watching this, we failed. We thought we found a vault of knowledge. We found a graveyard. The thing you're chasing, it doesn't kill. It rewrites. We lost Lex first. Then Juno. They didn't die. They became part of it. It's not one creature. It's the sum of all the species we stored. It learned from every mind it absorbed. And now it's making something new." The screen cut to static. Then flashed one last sentence. "It wants to go home." Nox backed away. "No way. We are not taking that thing back to Earth." Reese looked around. "We're not leaving until we know what it is." Then the lights blinked again, and Wren fell to her knees. Her eyes were black. She spoke in 3 voices at once. "We waited. You remembered us. We will return." The clouds above the landing zone didn't move. No wind. No sound. No life. Lieutenant Sarai Niven held her breath as her boots sank into the strange red dust. The planet was supposed to be a jungle world, but there were no trees left. Just ash. And scorched craters. Whatever happened here had burned everything down to the bones. Behind her, the rest of the Human Recovery Force Bravo team moved in silent formation. They weren't ordinary soldiers. These were handpicked from Earth's black cell units, humans who survived Deathworld training, sub-zero survival, void combat, and mental resilience drills so brutal that even allied species had protested. They're used. But now, no one protested. Not anymore. Not after the signal. No one had spoken of the real contents of that message. But it was enough for Earth to send their deadliest humans without asking questions. The team spread out in a loose V pattern, checking for movement. Nothing moved. Niven tapped her combs. No heat signatures. No movement. No fauna. Total burn. Advancing to crater. They crested a rise and saw the impact zone. It looked like a god had smashed the world with a hammer. A smooth circular pit nearly 2 kilometers wide sat ahead of them, filled with blackened metal shards, slagged weapons, and broken hull fragments, alien unknown designs. One piece was still glowing. Niven crouched near it. The shard pulsed with faint blue lines. She touched it. It screamed, not out loud, but into her head. Her brain filled with static. Images. Death. Eyes watching from voids between stars. A planet. Opening like a mouth. And then silence. She fell back, heart racing. The medic, Briggs, ran over. "You all right?" She nodded, shaking. "Not. Human tech. This isn't even in our database." It felt like it read me. What? Like it knew I was touching it. And it didn't like me. Just then, their motion detectors chirped. Briggs checked his scanner. Contact, east side. Small, fast, then gone. Niven stood. Full. Alert, weapons ready. eyes sharp. The squad tightened, rifles raised. Even in their armor, every movement was slow and careful. If something was fast enough to dodge their scans, it wasn't just wildlife. Bravo 6, take left flank. Bravo to 9, rear watch, Niven ordered. Whatever's here, it's not gone. It's watching us. They moved down into the crater, careful to avoid stepping on the glowing fragments. Each piece seemed awake. Suddenly, something flashed between two rocks. Private Reyes shouted, opened fire. His plasma rounds hit nothing, but the air around the impact shimmered, bent like glass cracking. Cloaking tech? Briggs asked. No. Niven said, eyes narrowing. Predator behavior. It's testing us. The next attack was instant. Bravo 9's scream was short. By the time the squad turned, only his helmet remained split clean down the middle. Blood pooled beside it. Contact. High right. 3 soldiers fired. Their rounds hit something. Howled a strange high-pitched screech, like metal being bent underwater. It bled. Dark green. But the body vanished before they could confirm the kill. They were in a kill zone now. Fall back to the ridge. Niven ordered. Tactical retreat. We regroup and call command. This thing is not native, and it's hunting in packs. As they moved, more movement registered dozens of signatures now surrounding the crater. The squad formed a tight defensive circle, firing as shadows dashed between wreckage. One by one, they started falling. Screams, gunfire, blood, and then silence. Only Niven, Briggs, and Reyes made it to the ridge. The rest were gone. Niven activated her emergency uplink. Command, this is Bravo Team. We've made contact. Unknown hostile life form. Highly intelligent. Adaptive. Invisible. This was never a distress beacon. She looked back at the crater. As something began rising from its center, something massive, shifting, glowing with blue veins and a pulsating core. It was a trap. Back on Earth, inside the War Command bunker beneath the surface of Alaska, General Hart watched the transmission. Feed cut out. Static replaced the visuals. Niven's last words echoed in the chamber. It was a trap. Around him, analysts worked in silence. Scientists stared at readings that made no sense. The alien tech was active. Broadcasting, learning. But it had made one mistake. It drew Earth's attention. And Earth had more than just Bravo Team. Far more. The dropship shook violently as it entered the upper atmosphere. Outside its armored hull, fire streaked across the sky, burning fragments of enemy ships, debris from orbital strikes, and smoldering clouds from Earth's counteroffensive. Commander. Rayan kept her eyes on the holomap, watching as red markers flickered in and out enemy patrols, automated defenses, and something else. Something that wasn't in the briefings. They weren't just here for recon anymore. Earth's Black Ops. Team had one mission now: secure the source of the signal. But the planet wasn't what it seemed. And neither were the things living on it. 2 days earlier, the team had landed on the edge of a dead zone, an area the alien invaders had classified as lost territory. Satellite footage showed nothing but ruined buildings and scorched land, but that was a lie. Because the first human to step out of the dropship didn't come back, Private Niles had been cautious. He walked a few meters, scanned for life signs, and gave the all clear. Then his camera feed cut. No scream, no warning, just silence. When Rayan's second-in-command went to check, he found only a trail of footprints ending at a broken tree. No blood, no body. Just one word burned into the ground like someone had carved it with heat. Leave. They didn't leave. Rayan ordered the rest of the squad to spread out, weapons ready. She wasn't afraid. She had trained for this. Her team was built for impossible missions, genetically enhanced, mentally hardened, tech-linked through neural implants. But none of them were ready for what they found that night. Started with whispers. At first, they thought it was comms interference. Then the voices started speaking their names. Each soldier heard their own name being whispered in their ear by. The voice of someone they had lost back on Earth. A sister, a mother, a dead friend. By morning, 2 more soldiers were gone, vanished without a trace. No sounds, no alarms. Their weapons were left behind, still warm from recent use. "We're pulling back," said Lieutenant Sorrel. "This isn't an enemy. It's a trap." But Rayan knew it wasn't that simple. Something down there beneath the ruins, beneath the ashes, was alive, watching them, testing them. And it had responded to Earth's signal. They pushed forward. Hours later, they reached the center of the dead zone. What they found wasn't a ruin, it was a monument. Black stone, shaped into spiraling towers, humming with energy. Not alien. Not ancient. Human. The architecture matched nothing in Earth's history. And yet the tech inside responded to their neural links. Lights activated. Doors opened. Machines came alive, powered not by fusion or plasma, but by thought. Sorrel backed away. This wasn't built by the invaders. This was us. This was made by humans. But not by us, Rayan said slowly. This was made before. U.S. They explored the underground facility and found pods, empty cryocambers, sealed labs, and sealed archives with warning labels in ancient Earth dialects. Project Black Earth. Survival at any cost. Do not wake. One file. Played automatically when Rayan touched the panel. A hologram of a woman in an old Earth uniform appeared. She looked tired. Her voice cracked with urgency. "If this message is playing, then the signal has reached Earth. That means we failed to stop it, and they are coming. Listen carefully. This planet is not abandoned. It is defended, not by machines, not by soldiers, but by something older, something we created and buried here." The message cut. Static followed. Then a voice, soft but firm, echoed through the chamber. "You should not have come." Lights flickered. Alarms activated. And all around them, the black stone began to shift, reforming into shapes with limbs and faces that did not belong to the living. The planet had awakened. Rayan screamed into her comms. "Form up. Weapons free. They're not just guarding the signal. They are the signal." What followed was chaos. The black constructs moved like ghosts, fast, silent, impossible to track. Plasma rounds passed through some of them. Others bled fire. Every shot, every scream, echoed across the valley like a warning to the stars. Somehow, Rayan and 3 others made it out. Bleeding, burned, but alive. Back on the ship, as medbots patched her up, she stared at the feed from the orbital drones. The ground below them had changed. The monument had reshaped itself into a beacon, and it was now transmitting again, not just to Earth, but to every corner of the galaxy. Rayan whispered, "This wasn't a distress signal. It was a test. And we just failed it." She didn't know who they had awakened, but now the galaxy would find out, and Earth would have to decide whether to fight beside them or run. In the deep shadows of Sector 7, the restricted zone on the outer rim of the dead planet, something had been waiting. Captain Ira Velen's boots crunched softly over the black stone floor of the ancient facility. The deeper the humans explored the alien ruins, the stranger the architecture became. The walls breathed, not literally, but with a pattern of pulses, dim waves of light that moved like lungs, inhaling and exhaling. The human soldiers called them ghost lights. No one spoke, not even IRA. The entire team, hardened veterans of the hyperwars, had been reduced to silence. They weren't alone. The mission had started like all the others. The Elite Earth Response Division, unofficially known across the galaxy as the Deadliest Humans, had been deployed to investigate the origin of a strange signal picked up 2 weeks ago. The signal wasn't just old, it was forbidden, marked in the ancient language of the Archivans with the symbol for containment breach. They had found ruins, thousands of years old, but not empty. Sergeant Voss adjusted his scanner and frowned. Life form readings again. Same pattern. Same 3 locations. IRA didn't need to ask. It was always the same spots. Always just beyond line of sight. Always just after they blinked. Whatever it was moving with them. A shriek tore through the comms, then silence. Sergeant Rika, who had been scouting the West Wing alone, was no longer answering. "Move," IRA ordered. They found her body in seconds. No blood, no wounds, but her eyes were open, and her expression hollow, like all thought had been erased. Private Ellen took one look and dropped to her knees, whispering a prayer. But Voss just stood still. "It's not killing us," he said. "It's collecting." "Say that again," IRA said quietly. Voss pointed at the wall. Dozens of strange pods were lined against the stone, each with a shape inside. Not quite human, not quite alien, somewhere in between. One of them was moving. They were the original inhabitants of this planet, Alan said. The ones who built this place. "No," said Voss, "the original ones didn't build anything. They woke up something that did." The silence that followed was worse than any scream. Private Wren approached one of the pods. "This one's breathing. Back away," IRA said. But it was too late. The pod split open with a hiss, and out stepped a figure. Tall, pale, skin stretched too tightly over a frame that didn't match any known species. Its eyes were human, but the rest. Wren fired without hesitation. The bullets passed through the thing. Not like it was intangible, but like it bent reality itself. And then it looked at them. Every soldier froze. Muscles locked. Hearts pounding. The creature didn't attack. It spoke. In English. "You are not meant to come here. Who are you?" IRA demanded, forcing her limbs to move. The creature tilted its head. "We are the last of the failures. The ones left behind when the Archivans fled. You call them ancients, but they feared us. Because we learned how to change. What are you?" Ellen asked, trembling. The thing smiled. "We are what happens when containment fails. We are evolution unbound." Suddenly, dozens more pods hissed open. "They sent the signal on purpose," Voss whispered. "To lure us here." IR stepped forward. "You think we're afraid?" The creature laughed softly. "No, you don't fear. That's why we chose your kind." "Chose?" She asked. "You're not here to destroy us. You're here to join us." The lights flickered, and behind the creature's humans, or what used to be, Rika stood among them, smiling, changed. Part of them now. Voss raised his weapon. IRA didn't stop him. Whatever happened next, Earth would hear it, if anyone survived long enough to tell. Space twisted as the human fleet dropped out of warp above the ravaged planet. It wasn't a full invasion armada, not yet. Just 7 ships, but each was large, black, and heavily armored. And every alien who saw them immediately froze. Because these weren't ordinary military vessels. These were the Black Sigil's classified warships from Earth's forgotten black programs. Programs so deep, not even most humans knew they existed. And now they had arrived. Down below on the burned surface of the planet that had sent the mysterious distress call, the aliens gathered what was left of their resistance. Scanners picked up the ships instantly. Their signals were encrypted. No hails. No standard diplomatic protocols. Just silence. And a slow descent. Commander Tyrus of the Threx Union watched nervously from the ruins of his command post. His troops, hardened insectoids, had spent decades occupying this world. They had conquered it, broken its natives, and turned it into a slave mine for rare minerals. But something had gone wrong. Something had awakened in the mines, and someone had sent a signal. Now, the humans had come. The first ship landed like a falling mountain. Dust clouds swallowed the horizon. The ramp dropped, and out walked 5 figures, tall and armored, completely silent. They didn't speak, didn't identify. They simply moved forward, scanning, observing, and moving through the remains of what had once been a thriving city. The soldiers accompanying. Commander Tyrus stepped forward with weapons raised. One of the human figures moved. There was no weapon in its hands, just a flick of the wrist, and in less than 3 seconds, all of Tyrus's guards dropped limp and unconscious. No blood, no impact. JUST lights out. Tyrus screamed, backed away, and ran. He had fought Crarians, fought orbital pirates, even once fought against his own empire's rebels. But he had never seen humans like this. These weren't diplomats. These weren't even soldiers. These were operatives, orbiting above. Earth Command. Watched through silent eyes. The mission parameters were clear. Do not communicate with the Galactic Council. Do not respond to alien transmissions. Secure the asset. Investigate the origin of the signal. Eliminate any interference. Aboard the lead ship, Codenamed Phantom Core, the squad leader removed her helmet. Her name was LT, Mara Kale. She had been raised on Mars, trained in gravity warfare, and deployed in over 17 classified operations. But even she didn't know why Earth Command had sent them here. Only that something buried deep within. This world had triggered Protocol Revenant A, human response reserved for threats that shouldn't exist. Scan the vault beneath the mine, she said. Already done, replied her tech specialist. It's active. Whatever it is, it's ancient and alive. Mara's eyes narrowed. Then why hasn't the Galactic Council done anything about it? The tech didn't respond, because they both already knew the answer. Below the surface, in the core mining zone, the alien slave tunnels were dark and abandoned. Strange markings had been carved into the stone symbols older than any known galactic language. And deep within, behind a sealed blast door, something pulsed, a low hum. A slow throb like a heart waiting to wake. The humans breached the tunnel. Easily, the walls had been scorched from the inside, as if something had tried to burn its way out. And when they stepped into the final chamber, they all stopped. In the center of the vault was a sealed pod, metallic, circular, covered in ancient writing. And inside it, a child. Not alien. Human. But not entirely. The child floated in stasis, eyes closed, wires embedded into his spine and skull. Around the chamber, hundreds of alien corpses littered the floor, burned, disintegrated, some with weapons still in their claws. LT. Mara stepped forward. Is this Earthborn? No record, said the tech. DNA is 90% human, the rest unknown. How long's he been here? Thousands of years. The room was dead silent. Then the pod made a sound. A beep, one light. Turned green. Then another. And the child's eyes opened. They were black. No whites. No iris. No soul. Just black. And that's when the screaming started echoing across the tunnels. Alien screams, not from the dead. From the living, the remaining Threx forces had sent reinforcements. 2 entire dropships worth. Heavily armed. Ready to annihilate anything inside the vault. They never made it. From the moment the child opened his eyes, energy began pouring out from the pod. Invisible waves, crashing into every incoming signal, disabling ships, cracking mines. Outside, ships fell from the sky. Inside, the humans simply stood still. LT. Mara didn't flinch. Because in her ear, a whisper spoke through her implante. Voice she'd never heard before. I've been waiting. The child stood up inside the pod, unhooked himself, and stared straight at her. You came. That means Earth still lives. Mara raised a hand. Who are you? I'm the reason this planet died, and the reason your kind must prepare. For what? He smiled. For what's coming. Back in orbit, the other 6 human ships began repositioning. One of them powered up an ancient weapon, Project Hermes, an orbital phase cannon designed for one purpose only, cleansing. But Earth Command canceled the strike. New order arrived. Protect the entity. Prepare for exfil. Ignore all galactic. Warnings. The humans had found something far older than the Council, something buried and forgotten. And now, awake. The black sigils departed as quickly as they came. No warnings. No statements. Just silence. But across the galaxy, news spread fast that they had sent a signal, and the deadliest humans had answered. But what no one knew was that the signal hadn't been a distress call. It had been an invitation, and someone, or something, had just stepped into the galaxy again. The void outside the alien capital was silent. The stars above shimmered like watching eyes, but nothing moved. No ship, no signal, no survivors. Only wreckage floated in cold silence. Ships from 100 star systems, twisted and burned. Cities turned to glass. Worlds rendered uninhabitable. And in the center of it all, the Sentinel waited. The black, obsidian-colored human warship, 3 kilometers long, hovered like a monument of judgment. Around it, smaller vessels from Earth drifted in formation. Not attacking, not retreating, just waiting for the galaxy's answer. Inside the ship, Commander Alira stood before a screen showing the scattered remains of what used to be the Galactic Dominion's fleet. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Everyone on the bridge knew what came next. Earth had received a distress signal. They followed it across half the galaxy. They tried to negotiate, tried to save lives, tried to warn them, but no one listened. Until Earth activated the final protocol. This wasn't war. It was judgment. In the hidden data of the original signal, the one that started all this, there was more than just a cry for help. There was a code. An old Earth beacon. A remnant of the first interstellar mission, centuries ago. A ship thought lost. A message from the first human expedition that vanished. If this message is received, we are not dead. We are something else now. Something more. And we are not alone. If Earth hears this, prepare. What they did to us, we'll never let happen again. That ancient signal was traced to a black site deep in the Dominion's space, buried beneath what looked like a research colony. What Earth found wasn't just survivors. It was experiments, torture, modified humans used as weapons. The ones who returned were no longer fully human, but they still remembered, and they brought back the truth. They brought back the names of every species involved, every world that stood by, every fleet that blocked Earth's search for the lost ship. Earth didn't seek revenge. Earth brought correction. The final protocol was never about destruction. It was a calculated warning. One world bombarded from orbit. One fleet dismantled in hours. One empire burned to show the galaxy what happened when humanity's cries were ignored. Back on the bridge, Alira finally spoke. "Send the final message," she ordered. A young officer tapped the console. A signal was broadcast galaxy-wide. "We did not start this war. We answered a signal for help." What followed was betrayal, silence, and violence. Let this be the last time anyone doubts Earth's resolve. The message ended with coordinates. The graveyard of the Galactic Dominion fleet. Alira turned to her crew. "We're done here. Next phase, rebuild." Someone asked, "And if they retaliate?" She smiled slightly. "Then the final protocol won't be a warning next time. It'll be a memory." Behind her, the Earth fleet began to turn away, their engines igniting silently in the darkness. The galaxy would rebuild, but it would never forget. Earth came because of a distress signal, and what followed changed the stars forever.